Hello, my name's Tina McDonald. Thank you for your time today. Today's counselling conversation is going to be looking at triggers with trauma. So trauma always takes the shortest route when it reappears. And I thought it might be helpful to have a little look and see how the patterns of its arrival in the present can be helped by a sense of safety to remember that you're re-experiencing something or you're preempting that something is going to happen, but actually it's from the past and that's where it still is. In the back of your brain, you have an area called the amygdala. Now this fires quickly. This takes the shortest route. And this is where the fight, flight or freeze that we've talked about in other videos, this is where it's conditioned to respond to the emotional content. So there's no logic, there's no let's have a look and see whether it is actually in the past, is it now, what's actually happening, why am I responding automatically to something that's going on. And that's where if we don't train ourselves to catch it just before that response happens, that it goes automatically straight to the shortest route, and that is to recognise it through the emotional content. And often the basis for that is fear, because it's coming from a trauma base. So, for example, the wonderful Carolyn Spring at PODS, P-O-D-S, if you look up, she does some tremendous work on childhood sexual abuse, and she works with the trauma patterns. Now, she explained it that if your amygdala is a smoke alarm, then in the distance you see the possibility, oh, that's smoke. That's smoke. The emotional content ties in with the fear goes straight to the amygdala. The amygdala says, we know what smoke brings. Smoke brings the forest fire. It brings the wildfire raging through here, and I will have nothing to protect myself from, as has happened in the past. So the smoke could be spoken to in a certain way, looked at in a certain way, something that reminds you of the content of when you were abused. A smell, whatever it is. And so therefore the sirens go off. Here we go again. The abuse is on the horizon. Therefore, I need to react, fight, flight, freeze. And that's how the trauma fast tracks back through the decades via the amygdala, via the fastest route to the emotional content of the fear. And it is definitely a wildfire. This is definitely something that I recognise from the past. And it can, in some cases, tip me into experiencing it as though it were right now, right today, here. And I know what that is. So I have to react in the same way that's helped me survive all of these years and through the experience itself. So in order to go through some safety training when you're in counselling, because that's what you need to do, you need to learn how to be the fireman so the siren doesn't go off, and therefore through your safety training, through grounding techniques, breathing, rewiring of the siren, we can then help it look at the smoke from the present, not connecting to the fear and the emotional content that went with it before, but saying, I understand this, I recognise it, therefore I can catch it before it goes to the amygdala, and I can move the smoke detection to a different part of my brain, because the route that the siren takes can be diverted and it's actually no longer needed because you're now in a place of safety. And although these things remind you of what's been before, we aren't there. We are here and learning new skills that help you feel safe. Look at the shark cage, look at the video that we did with that, building boundaries, looking at what safety is, recognising the great white shark and feeling comfortable where you are in order to protect yourself. So it's not an automatic. You're being hijacked by the emotional content of the past. And counselling can help you rationalise and desensitise the fast tracking and move it to the prefrontal cortex. And when it goes there, what happens in that part of your brain is planning, moderating social behaviour, looking at how you can differentiate conflicting ideas, and that you can then have, that concrete rule. I see smoke, but I'm going to analyse what it's bringing towards me. I'm not going to preempt that it's a wildfire. It could just be smoke. It might be smoke for a reason somewhere else. It doesn't have to be the past in the present. And so by moving it to the front, then you bring it to today, and to be able to logically work through what's actually happening, what's going on. And it brings you to the point of being able to say, I see smoke, working through, it's just smoke. And it's not necessarily a wildfire that I recognised and been called in the path of before. And it also means that you give yourself a different route from responding as you would do automatically, because whenever anything goes into the amygdala, it's exhausting because it's that automatic and it's a full mind and body reaction, and it escalates you backwards into when the abuse actually happened, rather than helping you stay safe and grounded and in today. So I hope that little kind of look at where we think and how it's processed is something that, through working on the good days, so that when the not so good days are there, we are armed with a different set of thought patterns, and it gives us a sense of being more in control and more present, grounded in today, which is not where the fear is. It's not in the past. If you would please leave some comments and subscribe, and I look forward to meeting you again in some other counselling conversations to come up in the future. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.